72 days between life and death. The miracle in the Andes. Act 1, Friday the 13th. October 13th, 1972. 3:30 p.m. The Andes Mountains, Argentina. 45 people aboard Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. A Fairchild FH-227D are singing, laughing, playing with a rugby ball in the aisle. Most are teenagers, early 20s, members of the Old Christians Club amateur rugby team from Montevideo. Friends, family, supporters, heading to Chile for an exhibition match. They hit turbulence. The young men cheer, whoop, make airplane noises with their mouths like children on a roller coaster. Conga, conga, conga. The plane is dancing conga. Then someone looks out the window. Aren't we flying too close to the mountains? The pilot, co-pilot Dante Hector Laguerara at the controls, has made a catastrophic error. He believes they've cleared the Andes. They haven't. He's still 60 to 69 kilometers east of Curacao, the turning point, but he's begun descending toward what he thinks is Santiago. The mountain looms through the clouds, 10 feet away, 20 feet, close enough to touch. Laguerara pulls back. The plane climbs, nearly vertical, stalling, shaking, then impact. The right wing shears off after hitting the mountainside. Then the left wing, then the tail. 7 people are sucked out of the fuselage before the plane crashes. Gone. Falling through mountain air. The remaining fuselage, now just a metal tube, slides down the glacier at high speed. Spinning, tumbling, metal screaming. Finally, it stops. Valley of Tears. 11,500 feet up in the Andes. Snow. Sub-zero temperatures. 19-year-old medical student Roberto Canessa regains consciousness. I was thrown with an incredible force, and as I was fainting, I was realizing that I was alive and the plane had stopped. 12 people are dead immediately. The pilot, Nando Pareto's mother. Others, 33, are alive, injured, terrified, stranded at the edge of the world. This is the story of what happened next. Of 72 days that redefined the limits of human endurance. Of choices so unimaginable that even now, more than 50 years later, they challenge everything we believe about civilization, morality, and survival. 16 people will walk out of these mountains alive. But first, they'll have to become something they never imagined. Act 2. The first night. Night falls fast in the Andes. The fuselage provides minimal shelter. The tail section, torn away during the crash, is somewhere down the mountain. With it, the batteries, extra clothing, most of the luggage. The temperature drops well below freezing. The survivors huddle together. 33 bodies pressed into a space designed for seats, not sleeping. Nando Pardo lies unconscious. Severe head trauma. His mother is dead. His 19-year-old sister, Susie, is dying massive internal injuries. She'll survive 3 more days before succumbing. Canessa and another survivor with medical training, Gustavo Zerbino, try to help the wounded. Broken bones, lacerations, concussions. They have no proper instruments, no anesthesia, no antibiotics. They improvise. Seat cushions become bandages. Luggage straps become splints. Snow becomes water. By morning, 5 more are dead. 28 remain. A search is launched immediately. Authorities in Uruguay, Chile, and Argentina mobilize. Planes fly overhead, but the white fuselage is invisible against the snow. After 8 days, with no results, the passengers are presumed dead and the search is called off. But the survivors don't know this yet. They hear planes, see them passing overhead. They wave, scream, arrange reflective materials to catch sunlight. The planes never see them. Act 3. The decision nobody wanted to make. By the 10th day, the food is gone. They'd found some chocolate bars, wine, candy, a few cans of food. Rationed carefully, it lasted a week, maybe 10 days. Now there's nothing. The survivors found little food in the crashed fuselage. Facing starvation, they realized to survive, they would need to eat the frozen bodies of the dead. The conversation begins quietly, whispered, theoretical. Someone mentions the Donner Party. Cannibalism in extreme survival situations. This happened before. But this isn't history. These aren't strangers. These are friends, teammates, family members. I can't. We have to. God would never forgive us. Then someone accounts Varion who reframes it. They're Catholic. They take communion every Sunday. The body of Christ. The blood of Christ. We shook our hands and we say, if I die, please use my body, so at least you can get out of here. And tell my family how much I love them. Pardieu later recalled. They make a pact. If any of them dies, the others have permission to use their bodies. To survive. To escape. To tell their families they love them. They used a shard of glass to cut flesh. Started with skin and strips of fat before reluctantly turning to muscle. The first bite is the hardest. Some vomit. Some cry. Some can't do it at all. They'll starve for days before desperation overrides revulsion. But slowly, methodically, they do what must be done. Not because they want to, because the alternative is death. And they've decided they want to live. Act 4, Day 17, The Avalanche. October 29th. 16 days after the crash. The survivors have settled into a routine. Rationing the dead, melting snow, caring for the injured, planning escape routes. Leadership has emerged. Marcelo Perez, team captain, holds them together, makes decisions, keeps morale up. Then at night they hear it. An avalanche. Massive. It hits the fuselage and buries it completely in snow. 8 people die, crushed, suffocated, buried alive. Among them, Marcelo Perez, their leader. The remaining survivors are buried alive in the fuselage for 3 days. Snow fills the cabin. They can barely move, can barely breathe. They dig, frantically, creating a small air hole, just enough to survive. Their clothes are soaked. No way to dry them. They punch and massage each other to prevent freezing. They dig a hole in the reduced space of the cabin, which allows one person at a time to stand in the center and jump to keep their feet from freezing. 3 days later, they break free. 19 people remain. But something has changed. The avalanche has shattered whatever remained of their optimism. If they don't escape, if they don't act, they will all die here. The question is no longer if they should try to cross the mountains. It's when. Act 5. The Expeditions. Several survivors, the expeditionaries, begin surveying the area for an escape route. They set out on brief expeditions to explore the immediate vicinity, but altitude sickness, dehydration, snow blindness, malnourishment, and extreme cold make significant travel impossible. They believe, based on the dying co-pilot's last words, that they've overflown Curacao, near the western edge of the Andes, which means Chile, and help must be just over the nearest ridge. But they're wrong. They've crashed deep in the Andes. The Chilean countryside is 89 kilometers to the west. Nando Pardieu, now recovered from his head trauma, becomes obsessed with escape. His father is alive back in Montevideo, waiting. Nando promised himself he'd return. He rallies the group, identifies the strongest, the most determined. 3 men will attempt the impossible. Roberto Canessa, Nando Pardieu, and Antonio Tintin Vizintin. Act 6. The Climb. December 12, 1972. Day 60. Pardieu, Canessa, and Vizintin begin climbing out of the glacier. They believe they're at 2,100 meters elevation. They're actually at 3,664 meters. They have no rock climbing gear, no area map, no compass, and no climbing experience. Pardieu wears 3 pairs of jeans, 3 sweaters over a polo shirt, and 4 pairs of socks wrapped in a plastic shopping bag. They bring a 3-day supply of meat, frozen human flesh wrapped in rugby socks. They climb for 3 days, 839 meters up 30 to 60-degree slopes to a 4,503-meter ridge to the west of the summit of Mount Sealer. When they reach the summit, expecting to see green valleys and Chilean farmland, they see instead more mountains. Endless peaks stretching to the horizon. Canessa breaks down. We're dead. But Pardieu points to the west. One valley, lower than the others. Maybe. Vizintin returns to the fuselage. More rations for the other two. Pardieu and Canessa continue alone. Act 7. 10 Days to Civilization. From the ridge, they trek 53.9 kilometers for 7 more days into Chile. They walk through rivers, climb cliffs, sleep on rocks. Their feet bleed. Their bodies consume themselves. But they keep moving. On December 20th, day 68, they see something impossible. Cows. Actual cows. Grazing. Then a man on horseback. Sergio Catalan. Chilean arriero. Herdsman. They're on opposite sides of a river. The roar of water makes communication impossible. Pardieu, unable to make himself heard above the roar, tries to explain by miming an airplane crashing. He worries the man will think he's a lunatic and leave. Instead, Catalan ties a note to a rock and throws it across. "Tell me what you want." Pardieu writes with shaking hands. "I come from a plane that fell in the mountains. I am Uruguayan. We have been walking for 10 days. I have 14 friends wounded on the crash site. We need help. We don't have any food. Please come and get us." Catalan reads it, nods, rides away. For 10 terrifying hours, Pardieu wonders if he'll return. But Catalan travels 10 hours on horseback to alert authorities. Act 8. The Rescue. December 22nd, 1972. 2 helicopters arrive at the crash site. Weather is marginal. They can only take 6 people at a time. The first 6 are lifted out. Then the helicopters leave, weather closing in. The remaining 8 spend one more night on the mountain. December 23rd. The helicopters return. The final 8 are rescued. 72 days after the crash. 16 survivors. Out of 45. The world watches in disbelief. 2 emaciated men, Pardieu and Canessa, lead rescuers to 14 others. Skeletons in rags, but alive. And then the revelation how they survived. Cannibalism. Act 9. The Reckoning. The backlash is immediate, global, intense. How could they? Eating their friends, their teammates, desecrating the dead? But the survivors frame it religiously. They compared it to taking communion. When Jesus gave his disciples bread and wine made from his very own body, the Catholic Church weighs in. Technically, this isn't cannibalism that requires murder. This is anthropophagy, using the already dead. And under extreme duress, with no alternative, the Church finds it morally defensible. The families of the dead are asked to comment. Some are horrified. Others are gracious. "If my son's body helped save lives, he would have wanted that." But the survivors carry the weight forever. Roberto Canessa, who became a cardiologist, says, "I've had these discussions for 40 years. Cannibalism is when you kill someone, so technically this is what is known as anthropophagy. Not monsters, not villains, just young men who chose life over death." Act 10. The Themes That Matter. What makes the Andes story remarkable isn't the cannibalism. That's the sensational detail. The headline. What makes it remarkable is everything else. The themes of resilience, perseverance, community building, and leadership present in the stories made the 1972 Andes crash notable for being the opposite of dystopian tales like Lord of the Flies. 2 survivors, Roberto Canessa and Gustavo Zerbino, note that Society of the Snow is a film free of an antagonist. Yes, it is a classic man versus nature narrative, but there is no evil present. It is a film free of cynicism, brimming with pure humanity. They didn't devolve into savagery. They organized, cooperated, took care of each other. The strong helped the weak. The medical students treated injuries. Everyone had a role. We trusted each other. We fought for each other, Pardieu said. So this is a rugby story, not a horror story. A rugby story. A story about teamwork under impossible conditions. Canessa reflects. I believe this was a kind of experiment by a malicious hand that decided to throw onto the mountain a group of young rugby players, university students with education and a belief in God. Ideal guinea pigs for an experiment in human behavior. Who survived? It wasn't the smartest, most intelligent ones. The ones who survived were those who most felt the joy of living. That gave them a reason to survive. Act 11. What they became. Gustavo Zerbino became director and CEO of the Uruguayan Rugby Federation. Tintin Vizintin became president of the Uruguayan Rugby Union. Roberto Canessa wrote, "I had to survive." Nando Paradu became a motivational speaker and wrote Miracle of the Andes. Of the 16 survivors, 14 are still alive. José Luis Coche Inciart died in 2023 of cancer. Javier Methal died in 2015. In 2007, Sergio Catalan, the herdsman who found Paradu and Canessa, revealed he had arthrosis of the hip. Canessa, now a doctor, and other survivors raised money to pay for his hip replacement surgery. Catalan died in 2020 at age 91. According to the Book Society of the Snow, the survivors gather each year on December 22nd, the first day of rescue, to hold a ritual commemoration. All reunite with their families. They have seen all the children of their friends as they were born, together with their own. In 2022, on the 50th anniversary of their rescue, they marked the occasion in a special way. We took a photograph of 147 persons who are alive because we came back. So this is a story of life, Paradu told The Guardian. On the 40th anniversary, they finally played the rugby game they'd been traveling to in 1972. Act 12. The Site. The crash site attracts hundreds of visitors from all over the world each year. The trip takes 3 or 4 days. From the village of El Sosnido, travelers continue on horseback or walk for 3 days to reach the site. The fuselage is gone, removed, but the location remains sacred. Sealer Paradu, Nando's father, made the tough trip every year for 18 years to pay respects to his wife and daughter. His own ashes were buried there when he died. Survivor Eduardo Strauch frequently visits as co-director of Alpine Expeditions, a tour company that leads people to the crash site. The Andes Museum 1972 opened in 2013 in Ciudad Vieja, Montevideo, focusing on the crash and survival. The story has been told repeatedly. The 1974 book Alive by Piers Paul read. The 1993 film Alive starring Ethan Hawke. The 2023 Netflix film Society of the Snow, the first to use the real names with family permission. But no retelling captures what it felt like. To be 17 years old, trapped on a glacier, eating your friends to stay alive, knowing rescue isn't coming, to climb a mountain with no equipment, to walk 10 days through wilderness, to refuse to die when death seems easier. Epilogue. What the Andes Taught. October 13, 1972. A plane carrying 45 people crashes in the Andes. Most are teenagers, rugby players, friends. 72 days later, 16 walk out alive. The world wants to know how. The answer isn't simple. It's not one thing. It's everything. Dr. Roberto Canessa, now 70, recognizes that while what happened was a tragedy, it also taught him about how to avert difficulties in life and to have faith in yourself. Faith, community, pragmatism, the will to live, and the hardest truth of all. Sometimes survival requires you to do things you never imagined. Things that will haunt you forever. Things you can never undo. But you do them anyway, because the alternative, giving up, lying down, waiting to die, is unthinkable. This is more than a movie. This is an experience we had to share with humanity to show people who are having their own mountain crashes how to be resourceful and how not to give up. Canessa says, human beings undergo a transformation in cases like this. There is a real metamorphosis from being a rugby player to becoming a survivor of a plane crash. I believe people have that potential. We all have that potential. To endure the unendurable. To survive the unsurvivable. To become something we never thought we could be. The Andes survivors proved it. Not through superhuman strength. not through divine intervention, but through simple, stubborn human refusal to die. They were ordinary people, students, athletes, children, really, but they became extraordinary. Not because they wanted to, because they had to, and in doing so, they showed the rest of us something profound, that the human spirit, when pushed to its absolute limit, is capable of things we can barely comprehend. That civilization is a thin veneer, and underneath, the will to survive, raw, primal, unstoppable, that sometimes the only way out is through the pain, through the guilt, through the impossible, and on the other side, life, imperfect, haunted, but alive. 72 days, 16 survivors, one impossible story that refuses to be forgotten, because it asks a question none of us wants to answer: what would you do to survive? And it provides an answer none of us wants to hear: whatever it takes.